All right, y'all. What's up? What's going on? Let's go ahead and cut the music today because I'm just on here for a little bit. I want to do a quick little live here. I was just going to do it as a video if I had time to record it, but I didn't have time to record it. So I said, let's go ahead and do a live while I got some downtime this evening. Got my run in, got my workout in. I'm feeling good. And yeah, I've been saying I was going to do this. I've been telling BJ I was going to do this. We're going to check some resumes here. We just going to look. We just going to look here because we focused on, all right, we ain't focused on one fighter here. We focused on all of them. All right. So there's been something on my mind. So yeah, let's do this. You know what? When it comes down to it, man, you know, WMMA fans are lucky, that I like to get on here and talk about this sport because, hey, when I'm gone, I'm gone. I'm just saying, man, the day I leave, I'm gonna be gone. Like, I'm not saying I'm leaving now, but you know, you better enjoy this now. You better enjoy my love for the sport, because it's the same as boxing. Same as boxing. I love boxing. I can talk about boxing all day, and I can talk about the fight game all day. But yeah, some things I just like to look at and analyze, and this is one of the things that crossed my mind. As we just look at these fighters, that look at these fighters in their whole run up the top, up to the top. So let's have some fun, man. That's why I call it whose run was better because BJ, I know he was starting to see the light on something, but I said, look, it ain't about you, man. Like we're just looking at these fighters that gone on, 6-0 runs, 6-0 runs in the UFC, and I'm just kind of looking at how each of them did, and how they're gonna move, how they're gonna move from here on, and which one, which one had trouble, which one had the least impressive run, which one struggled, which one looked more so dominant, like who looked more so like a complete fighter, like who looks complete. And the more and more I look at it, I'm like, oh, out of all four of these girls, it's definitely looking better than the flyweight division of old. Because I think it was Mara Romero Barella. She posted up the throwback of the flyweight division. Hold up, y'all. I'm gonna Mara, what's her name? Barella. Okay, Barella. She posted up like a picture of the division before, and it was like Roxanne, Andrea Lee, Jennifer Maya, I think Montana De La Rosa, and all of them. And some of them were all right. Some of them did okay, but I didn't really see like a standout threat, like even like Alexa Grasso or something like that, or Tyler Santos, right? But out of these four, I think that all four of them have kind of weeded out some of the older fighters. But yeah, let's look here, man. Let's look at here at who all of these fighters have faced on their way up, and just kind of look at it because I know some people still kind of question Natalia Silva. She fights Saturday. Manon fights Saturday. Everybody questions her. Macy and Aaron are fighting. Well, Aaron, her run's already stopped. Aaron's run is already stopped. So we we can still look at it though because it was still somewhat impressive. Macy Barber, I know, I know Macy Barber. It's not funny. It's not funny, right? It ain't being funny. I mean, hey, she still won 6 in a row, right? But let's look at the fighters that's fighting Saturday. Let's look at the fighters that's fighting Saturday first. I'm gonna do this, okay? I fixed it just like this because everybody wants to question this young lady first. All right, let's look at Natalia Silva's run, okay? Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva is taking on Alexa Grasso Saturday. Grasso era, right? Okay. And these are the six fighters that she beat, okay? These are the six fighters that she beat on the way up. How many did she stop? She stopped two of them. Other than that, she pretty much outworked the rest of the fighters. And to me, I think that's pretty impressive, in the way she did it. Okay, so you got Natalia Silva. Let's see, her first fight was Jasmine, who's also fighting on the card, right? Jasmine Jasmine pretty much got outclassed. Jasmine wasn't really too much of a she wasn't too much of a threat. Once Silva got into her groove, she knew how to measure, range, counter strike, defend her takedown. So to me, that was good. I thought Jasmine, that was a good fight for Natalia Silva, just to see how she does against big, strong grapplers. And unlike fighters like Gabby Fernandez, I thought she handled it well. Okay. Teresa Blader, man. Oh, man. Teresa Blader, I had high hopes for her, which I'm still not counting her out. But, Teresa Blader, whew, man, I didn't want them matched up. When they gave Natalia Silva Teresa Blader, I was like, oh no. I was like, please don't do that. You know what I mean? I was like, really, please don't do that. And it showed why. Because she was not ready striking wise. The first round she did kind of win against Natalia Silva, but she was just too green on the feet. She was too green on the feet. And Natalia Silva, like, oh, chest, kick, out. That's it. That was a good win. That was a good win for Natalia Silva. That's what she was supposed to do coming, into the UFC. All right. Finish. Victoria Leonardo, another one. That was a finish. Okay, that's a given. That's not really one I would say was like a big highlight. The way she took her out was supposed to be done the way it was supposed to be done, right? Not a lot of people gave her credit like they did for Wayne Kong. That's the crazy part. Like when Wayne Kong did it, I know it looked scary, but they forgot girls like Manon and Aaron and Natalia Silva. They had already stopped Victoria Leonardo in the past, right? So that was a good highlight finish. It was a good highlight finish. Andrea Lee, how she finished Andrea Lee, I thought that was not finished, but how she pretty much outworked her. I thought that was pretty much given. That was probably her biggest step up after the first three. And Andrea Lee, she handled her like she was supposed to, striking wise. I thought the opening was there to finish her as well. And that's just me always being a harsh critic. I thought she could have stopped Andrea Lee, but again, I think her mindset kind of switched into just point fighting and taking the win. Arujo, I think that was like probably her toughest. Arujo was probably her toughest as far as some of the cage wrestling moments. But even then, I thought Silva did a good job of kind of neutralizing. She did drop Arujo in that fight with a left hook. So her countering skills are there and her physical strength are solid. Takedown defense is solid. Then she fought Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade, which at this point we all know Andrade is still dangerous because Andrade is still Andrade. But, she didn't really pose too much for threat. She did land some shots on Natalia, but again, with Natalia's skill set, she was never skittish or dangerous. She was never like skittish or like overthinking it. So Andrade was never dangerous to her. So looking at Natalia Silva's run, it's pretty decent, man. It's decent. Especially, she finished the people she was supposed to. Jasmine, she's not really one you can just knock out. Jasmine not one you can just go in there and knock out. That girl's tough, but she finished the girls that shouldn't have been in there with her. And then girls like Andrea Lee, Andrea Lee's not one to get knocked out. Neither is Arujo. They're pretty tough. Andrade, you can finish her, but Natalia Silva's style, the way it matches up, is not really finisher. I give her credit. For her run, but as far as it being the best, I'm not sure if it's the best, but her skills are, and that's not her fault because of, the opponents they gave her. You know what I mean? But I think she did pretty good. I think she did pretty well as far as just making sure she could bag 6 in a row. Barely lost a round. She barely lost a round. So I thought that was pretty solid, because that's what you want to do. You want to work your way to the top and you don't want to put that title shot in jeopardy, right? So, hers is decent, right? I still think skill-wise she could be a threat. She could still be a threat to whoever the champion is going to be. All right. Oh, yeah, let me look at let's look at Aaron's though. Aaron, her run right before she ran into Manon and it ended. Erin was fighting some tough fights now. Like when she first started, I thought it was going to be a while before she got up there. But Erin fought some different styles. She fought Andrade before Natalia Silva. Um, I remember when they had her fighting a few unranked fights, and then when they called her for that Tyler Santos fight, I was like, ugh, I don't know if she's ready for that. But then that got switched, and she winds up fighting. Tyler Andrade instead. Well, let me see here. You got Aaron Blanchfield. She took on Sarah Alpar. Alpar, not a big threat, right? Not in the UFC anymore. She wasn't too much of a tough fighter like that. I want to say that fight was at 135. I know Alpar did land some punches when I was looking back at that fight. She did land some punches on Aaron in that one. Aaron was getting hit with some shots, but overall, I thought Aaron was still the stronger fighter in that one, and she was able to win the decision. With her grappling, her striking, I believe. Right? I got to go back and look at that one though, like all the way through to see how she did, but for the most part, I mean, Aaron was just being Aaron. Still growing into the division. No, it was a flyweight fight. Yeah, it was still at flyweight. Because I know Alpar fights at bantamweight for the most part. But yeah, it was 125 looking at the resume. Then you got Miranda. The Miranda fight, I mean, she handled Miranda as far as like offensive striking, offensive grappling. Miranda was really getting worked on the ground in that fight. I mean, Miranda was really good with her defense, but other than that, like just getting out grappled, you could see like Aaron was strong. Like Aaron was really strong in that fight. I always consider Miranda to be strong, but Aaron is like a really strong fighter. And, she won that fight like 30-27. And that was a good grappling match. Because I used to want to see them fighting Invicta. That was a good fight. The JJ Aldrich fight, that was a good one. I mean, it exposed some things, right? It exposed a few things. JJ Aldrich won the first round, and after that round, everybody started cracking on Aaron striking because she was getting outboxed. But what did she do in the second round? She went in there and got the finish, right? And that's what it's about. Like, you get exposed. It's really not exposure until you lose, right? Like, Aaron made an adjustment to win the fight. She got outstruck the first round, but then she came back and then she won the fight, right? Like if she lost, that's kind of what you would say she was exposed to, right? She was exposed to a better striker, but she adjusted, won, then went back and worked on her striking, right? Molly McCann, that was kind of a softer touch than JJ. Y'all know she took her out brutal fashion. I think she about to snap her arm in that fight. So she stopped JJ and she stopped Molly. Fights that she was supposed to win by stoppage, she did because their submission game wasn't like that. Then Andrade, a lot of people picked against Andrade. A lot of people say Aaron's going to get knocked out. I was like, I don't know about this. Aaron is tough. I was like, I'm going to give this one to Aaron. Aaron proved to be a dog. She was tough. Went in there and stopped Andrade. Now, will Jasmine be able to do the same thing? I don't know. But Aaron, Aaron was in there taking some big shots. I remember her team was telling her not to back up, and that's kind of what kept her in the fight. She kind of went toe-to-toe in the first round. Second round, she took it home and got a finish, okay? And goes back, fights Tyler Santos. I thought that was too big of a jump, man. First, the Tyler Santos fight, I thought that was too big. I was like, I don't know. But she goes in there after almost kind of getting close to getting finished, I thought, in the first round. Tyler was landing some big shots on Aaron, but Aaron weathered it. And then she just, cage wrestled, mauled, and kind of exposed the bad IQ on Tyler Santos. So looking at who Aaron fought a good deal. Aaron's fought some, because people were counting her out in some of these fights, Tyler, that was one I didn't pick in because I wasn't sure. But for the most part, she's fought some good fighters. She's fought some good fighters to get where she was. She finished Andrade, she finished Molly McCann, and she finished JJ. and dominated Miranda, and then she beat um, Tyler pretty decisively. She beat her pretty decisively, So that's a credible resume to get to that seventh fight, which she lost, but she's still in the top five right now, right? And I think she's still growing. Now she beat Rose too, right? Now she about to fight Macy, so she might be starting a new run, And if she beats Macy, it's on again, right? So I like Aaron's. All right, let's see. Oh, come on. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. This thing is always acting up. My stream. Where is the stream? Boom. Okay. Jump in here. Give me 1 second. Because this is here. All right. Let me put some. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now, fighting Saturday, we got Manon taking on Valentina Shevchenko. All right. Manon also went on a 6-0 run. All right. So Manon, she comes in, blasts out Victoria Leonardo. I know some people were picking Victoria Leonardo to win in that fight. That's why I was kind of surprised, because I was like, I looked at Victoria Leonardo leading up to that point, and I was like, I don't know if she's gonna win this one, because nobody really was seeing Manon fight yet. But I know some people were kind of like, oh, Manon, I don't know much about her, but Victoria Leonardo should be able to beat her, But I had already seen Manon fight outside, most of her fights outside of the UFC, and I was like, oh, I think she's gonna win this. And she gets a finish. She blows her out. Easy work, right? Moving on to Tabitha Ricci. Does what she's supposed to do, right? She's supposed to knock out Tabitha Ricci. She was a strawweight, late replacement. She was supposed to fight Marina Moreau. That's why I always got to tell people. She was supposed to fight Marina Moreau that night, right? But Marina Moreau pulls out, which would have been a good fight. Marina Moreau is pulling out a lot of fights, BJ. So Marina Moreau pulls out of the fight. Tabitha Ricci steps in to get signed to the UFC. So good for her, right? Thrashes her. Now, if she went to decision with it, that would have been crazy. But she thrashes her like she's supposed to. Okay. Mayra Bueno Silva, she beats Mayra Bueno Silva. I mean, outside of like a big jiu-jitsu threat, she was no takedown threat, no submission threat here. I don't know what she was doing. She got kicked down one time and got back up, just plodding along, eating these shots. Manon takes her down, outstrikes her as well, right? Jennifer Martin, now her test, Mayra Bueno Silva, I would say she was a test as far as like the toughness and maybe jiu-jitsu, but she didn't really even like put the pressure on to get on the inside or even like land any counters. So durability and maybe dog-wise, that's what I thought was going to be the bigger test for her. But her real test came in to me with Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia is more of a well-rounded fighter. Her movement, her boxing, and those high kicks that she throws, and that was a threat in there. She wasn't much of a threat as far as like takedowns or ground strength, but when she was using her boxing in the fight, I thought it was effective at times. But for the most part, Manon was scoring takedowns in there, maybe like one, maybe two, I can't remember. Just outlanding her, landing her side kick, just outlanding. And Jennifer Maia caught her with the head kick. She recovered from that. So to me, that was the fight where I started to see some defense issues. I was like, okay, Maia is showing some defense issues here where Manon has to pick it up, So again, that was a good test for her. Probably, I would say Jennifer Maia was a better opponent than some of the fighters that Natalia Silva fought. What do y'all think? Like, would y'all say Jennifer Maia is a good fighter? Like, out of everybody's resume so far, like Jennifer Maia, I would say like she's probably the better fighter out of some of the ones on the other resumes, like Natalia Silva. Maybe, yeah. I would say that. All right, Chikagan. Striking wise, she's so awkward. Young chose to strike with her in that fight. She had some success in that fight, at times with her boxing. Chikagan did. She also landed a head kick in that fight. Made me say, okay, the defense needs to be worked on. But again, Manon, used her boxing IQ to outstrike her. Landed good left hands, keeping her jab in the face with Chikagan. That was another fight, though, that I felt like if she wanted to really, all honesty, like to me, if you really want to kind of one up Valentina, it comes to a point where you want to try to stop that person in a better fashion than that they did. That's just me. You know what I mean? Like when I'm watching fights like this, I'm like, you know what? Maybe she need to go in there and make a statement against Chikagan. Don't let her last 3, whatever rounds, 5 or whatever. Go in there and destroy this girl that Valentina did in a much better fashion. Sometimes in fights, you got to talk to the champion by not talking, but by performances. You know what I mean? Like, let me see, boxing, we were looking at Spence and Crawford. When Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence were fighting, easy, this, like Crawford and Spence had similar opponents, right? So they were fighting the same people, but at the same time, they were like, okay, who can beat who better, right? Like Spence fought Kell Brook first, and then Crawford, he fought Kell Brook. Then you ask, all right, who did it better? Well, in my opinion, I would say Spence because he fought him first, but the outcome was still devastating, But I just wanted to see something like that in that one. Rose, that fight was kind of an ugly fight. I know a lot of people picked Rose to win that one. I did pick Manon to win that. I thought it should have been a lot more decisive, maybe even a finish. Again, I think her striking IQ is something that took it home in that fight, and her strength, physical strength, and striking IQ came in handy in that fight. On the, I would say in the Rose fight and the Chikagan fight. All right, that durability saved her in those fights a lot of the times, and Rose still growing into the division. Question is, I'm still kind of questioning, like, is Rose going to ever be like full in that division? Something I just asked myself. But for the most part, I think IQ wise, I think Manon's had her IQ tested with these different fighters, striking, strength, and she's just kind of been stronger than a lot of these girls too, stronger and somewhat much more durable, a lot more durable than these fighters. So I think for the most part, the first couple fighters weren't really a test, but she got a good string of tests from, Mayra Bueno Silva to Rose, All right. And I saved the best one for last, man. I saved the best one for last. Maycee Barber. This ain't, look, I ain't messing around. I ain't messing with Maycee, man. I'm just showing what we got here, man. All right. So Maycee Barber, she fights May 31st. Erin Blanchfield. Gotta say Erin, man. Erin's probably gonna be her biggest, toughest, scariest test. Yeah, definitely. I would think so. Starting right off, Maycee Barber. We always talk about Maycee Barber knocking people out. So you knocked too many people out on here, did she? That's the one thing about her, man. I think Maycee's a little bit stingy sometimes. Maycee Barber's a little bit stingy when it comes to knocking people out now. Like, she needs to really work on becoming like a stalker, break them down type of fighter. Sometimes she'll spend too much time on the outside. That's just me. I think styles are what really makes her power present, So, going into this Maycee Barber fight, Erin fight, I'm kind of thinking twice about saying, oh man, Maycee gonna knock Erin out. I can't even say that, man. I can't even say, oh yeah, Erin gonna get knocked out. Erin might walk through some shots because, number one, let's start with the first opponent. She lost that fight to Miranda Maverick. All right, I'm going ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. She lost to Miranda Maverick, but it's a W on paper. It's a W on paper, okay? So yeah, she's got that. She got the win over Miranda Maverick. I think, they gave her rounds 2 and 3. She didn't really do much in the first round. I thought Miranda did a good job of taking away her power, kind of smothering her. And she did take some of her best elbows and shots on the inside, So it was kind of like Macy was a little worried about engaging on the inside. She was really worried about engaging on the inside there. So that's something I'm kind of questioning how she approaches Aaron, because Aaron is stronger than Miranda. And Aaron throws more than Miranda Maverick. And if Miranda was giving her that much trouble, what do you think about this fight? But times change. That was like 6 fights ago. So we might have something different. Okay. Now, Montana De La Rosa. Man, I don't know what it was, BJ, but BJ somehow convinced me that Montana was going to win this fight. That's the first time that's the first time somebody influenced my pick. I don't know how I was sold on that. I said Montana was going to beat Macy Barber. And I think it was because I felt like Miranda did it, and I thought Montana was going to do it. Boy, was I wrong. Macy Barber got up in there, reinvent herself with a clinch game. It was just mauling and elbowing and hitting Montana with some big punches, man. Like, I'm surprised Montana, didn't get stopped in that fight. But yeah, that was one that I almost thought that Montana was going to go in there and win. I thought she might have been the better wrestler, longer jab, maybe boxed her way in, but nope. So Montana, okay, that's a win. Not a finish, but it's a win. Jessica Eye, she beats Jessica Eye. Works her clinch game on her. Dirty boxing, outworks Jessica Eye. Doesn't finish Jessica Eye either. That wasn't one she could get out of there either. Andrea Lee, going back to Andrea Lee, man. Andrea Lee, again, she's there, but she's not there. Andrea Lee is there, but not there. But it was still enough to give Macy Barber a little bit of trouble in this fight. This is one I got to go back and watch because I thought Macy landed some heavy punches on Andrea Lee, but there was some of those takedowns in there that you have to kind of go back and look at. The takedowns, and I believe Macy Barber's nose was bleeding in this fight. So I think Andrea Lee, if I go back and look, Andrea Lee was pecking her a little bit. I think she was pecking her a little bit. Yeah, okay. Jessica Eye was taking down Barber. Okay, Jessica Eye took down Barber too. Okay, so that's kind of a pattern too. That's kind of a pattern in there too. You see in some of these fighters that have sneaky takedowns getting her down. So, okay. That's something we got to look at too. And now the Andrea Lee fight, a little controversial because I remember some people were booing too. People were booing. Was that a split decision? Hold on now. Was that a split decision or a unanimous for Macy? It was a split decision. It was a split decision, man. That was a split decision. So that Andrea Lee fight was even closer than the Miranda fight, people thought. So that one I have to look back at because I don't want to be like, it's because I'm not an Andrea Lee fan. But if Andrea Lee did win it, I want to go back and really dissect that one, man. So Andrea Lee. So she had two questionable fights. Okay, two questionable ones here. Amanda Ebas, that was a kind of a tooth and nail type of fight. Amanda Ebas, she's probably on paper, you would say, yeah, she is the one that would get stopped here because of the chin and her leaky defense. But she was having some good moments. I mean, she drew blood on Macy Barber. She made it look like I can get on the inside and outstrike her. Like, it makes me think, like, had Ebas's chin been a little bit better in defense a little bit better, she might have won that fight. She might have won that fight. But y'all got to remember, in that first round, there was an elbow that Ebas got hit by Macy Barber. Macy Barber landed a big elbow and y'all could hear it. She said that was that moment her orbital bone cracked. So I was like, oh man, Macy got some elbows. Y'all got to remember that Macy Barber got some elbows. So that first round, that's probably what kind of compromised her division and everything. But yeah, that was a big shot. That big elbow that landed, that's what kind of started it. But you see, she took the elbow. She took the elbow and kept fighting. Took the elbow, kept on moving. It was the head kick in the third round that got her. And yeah, Macy Barber has some good form when she throws her head kicks. But the thing is, like, sometimes I kind of question her distance management. I kind of question the distance management with her. Like, sometimes she just won't inch her way in the right way. Sometimes she'll throw shots from the outside and just keeps she just shadow box. But this fight here, Ebos was in there. Ebos was in there. She got in that range, crack, and y'all know what happened from there. So that was a good, just like a good bloody fight. All right. Chikagan. And look, Chikagan, man, like I said, Chikagan, she can make any fighter look ugly, man. Like, Chikagan, her style makes everybody look ugly. That's the Michael Nunn. Easy, you know what I'm talking about. Another boxing fan. See, I got to call Easy out because he's a boxing fan. So Easy, you know what I'm talking about. She's like the Michael Nunn in MMA. The way she moves and the way she's just so awkward, doesn't knock people out, but she's frustrating to fight, right? And it kind of showed in this one. Macy Barber was kind of struggling here, in that second round. I gave Macy Barber the first round, I think, more off of control, but Chikagan was kind of outboxing her in that second round. She was putting them hands on her. She was just touching Macy Barber. And Macy Barber looked like she was kind of frustrated. She was kind of frustrated, and she was just taking these shots and didn't really know what to do. And they weren't that hard, Then that third round was kind of close to call. It started to look a little bit closer there because, Macy Barber was kind of fishing for a takedowns or finish in there. But I thought Chikagan was doing a good job of hanging in there. She was doing a good job of hanging in there. It wasn't really that impressive, but they had it 2-1 for Barber. And, when it came down to it, okay, yeah. So looking at Macy Barber, man, I think Macy Barber had some questionable fights in there. She's had three that were questionable: the Miranda Maverick fight, the Andrea Lee fight, and the Chikagan fight. But with that being said, I mean, if she held on, that should force her to be better, right, and get better. We'll see if she can, if she can step her game up for this Aaron fight, because I think the way Aaron fought and the way Aaron kind of grew after each fight, it's kind of made her confident, more tougher, and visibly made her work on different things, But yeah, her best wins was probably the Ebos fight and the Montana fight. The Jessica Eye fight, okay, she won it. That's what she was supposed to do. But yeah, that was a thing too. I forgot Jessica Eye was taking her down. I didn't even remember that Jessica Eye was taking Macy Barber down in that one. So yeah, I would say out of all of them, when you look at like quality, I'll probably say, probably Manon or Aaron would have the best run as far as the different styles they fought. Because I would say on Aaron's resume, I would say Miranda and JJ were definitely better opponents than Tabitha Ricci and Victoria Leonardo. But I think Jessica Eye was a better opponent than Molly and Andrade, And that's one thing, I can't remember who said that, but they felt like, Jennifer Maia could beat Erin Blanchfield. So, that's one. But then, you got Tyler Santos. That's a good fighter. The Tyler, how she is, man, right? Then they both had a former champion named Rose and Jessica Andrade. Andrade is tough, but her and Rose, they're 1-1 against each other. Rose is more like a cerebral fighter. Chikagan, she can make you look ugly in any fight. So I would say Manon has fought more like the cerebral type of fighters that made her, have to adjust or stick to her style. Um, whereas Aaron, she got down and dirty in hers, and that's one thing I like about that's one thing I do like about Aaron Blanchfield and how she's fought. Now I'm definitely not counting out Natalia Silva. Like Natalia, she did what she did what she was supposed to do against these fighters too. It would have been nice to see her finish Andrea Lee. I know people could be like, man, he hated Andrea Lee. No, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Andrea Lee is okay, All right. I mean, finishing Andrea Lee or Viviane Araújo, or even finishing Andrade. Yeah, that would have been nice. But there's still like a level of patience that I like about Natalia Silva, that patience and awkwardness that I think is going to make for some good agitating moments for Alexa Grasso. So yeah. With that being said, respect to all of these girls that could win that many times, though. Because it kind of forces you to change and adjust. But yeah, I would probably say Manon had a pretty good, solid resume there. Of course, every one of them kind of got to some fighter before somebody else did. Like Aaron stopping Andrade before Natalia Silva beat her, or Manon beating Chikagan before Barber did, or whatever, right? So styles make fights, and not everybody's going to beat them the same. But just to be able to go on a run now, like, you rarely see that. I think Jasmine's on a 4-0 run. If Jasmine beats Andrade, that'll make her 5-0 right now. And then you got fighters like Verna Gendaroba in the strawweight. She's on a 5-0 run. So it's really hard to get a streak going like that. Because I think even Grasso had a 4-fight run before she fought the champion. And you don't really need like a long run to do it. That was proof there, right? But in the end, sometimes the more you fight there, the more you're able to build that skill set. All right. So let's see, man. Let's see how this turns out Saturday. Can Manon go on for 8? Can Natalia Silva make it to 7? Can Macy Barber extend it to 7? Can Aaron start a new one? This will be her second fight, right? So will she be on a 2-0 run? Can she do it again? We'll see. But that wasn't too hard, was it, BJ? I didn't really I didn't go that hard. Right? I would say in order of best resumes, I would say Manon, Aaron, Natalia, and then Barber. Right? She had some of the questionable ones. So don't believe me? Go back and watch the Andrea Lee fight. Jessica I guess, right? Go back and watch that one. Chikagan, all of those fights. But I'm just ready for Saturday. I'm not going live. I'm going to be watching them fights. I'll get on after, because I really won't be like at home anyways. So I'll be too busy to pull it up and call it. I'll be able to watch it, but yeah, I'm not going to be able to be an atmosphere to call it. So, yep. On that note, what do y'all think, man? Who y'all think had the best run? Before I close this thing out, what do y'all think? Who do y'all think had the best 6-0 run in the flyweight division? Who will touch the belt? Who's going to touch the belt? That's the question. Like, who will touch the belt? Even, let's say if Valentina retired, does anybody touch the belt from this crop of flyweights? That's a question. Like, let's say Valentina retired today, who would be able to grab that belt and hold it? Well, on that note, y'all, hit that like button and subscribe. I am done for today. I just wanted to get this one off, get this one out. And yeah, enjoy the fights Saturday, and we'll talk after. I am out. Peace.